What are the pros and cons of selling your house as is? If you're planning on selling your home, you might have asked yourself this question. And if you have, this is going to be an important video to watch until the end, because in it, I'm going to go over what selling a house as is means, what it doesn't mean, the reasons people sell their house as is, or the pros, and the downside of doing so. And at the end of this, you're going to be able to determine if selling your house as is going to be right for you or not. Sometimes when you're selling a property that needs attention or repairs, selling it as is might seem like the most logical thing to do. Many people think that selling their house as is will actually relieve them of having to make any repairs to the property and involve the least amount of stress. Well, it's true they won't have to make any repairs. It's highly unlikely that it's going to be less stressful. It's fine if you want to sell your house as is. You have the right to do so. But it's important to know what the consequences of marketing your house as is are, which we're going to cover in this video. So what does selling a house as is mean? Okay, it means you're selling the home in its present condition and you have no intention of addressing any needed repairs. Essentially, the house will be sold with all its current faults and issues. What a lot of buyers overlook, and many agents simply don't know, unfortunately, is that the purchase agreement or the paperwork that's used to make an offer on a property states, unless otherwise agreed, the property shall be delivered as is in its present physical condition as of the date of acceptance. So technically, every buyer is offering to buy a house as is, but that doesn't mean they can't ask for repairs later in the buying process. And at that point, the seller can say yes, no, we'll do some of the repairs, or we'll give you a credit for you to make the repairs on your own after you've purchased the property. What does selling a house as is not mean? Unfortunately, many sellers think that selling their house as is means they can sell their home for as much as a buyer is willing to pay without having to disclose any issues or problems that it might have. And nothing could be further from the truth. A seller is legally required to disclose facts concerning the home that affect the value and the ability of a potential buyer to live in the house. Some examples of things that must be disclosed include, but aren't limited to, problems with the foundation, issues with the structure, major plumbing problems, the presence of mold, if it's in a flood zone, and other environmental problems in or around the home. So for example, if the sellers are aware of any obnoxious neighborhood noise, it needs to be disclosed. Another example would be if somebody died in the property within the last 3 years, this also needs to be disclosed. The reason these disclosures are so important is that potential buyers need to know as much as possible about a property in order to determine whether they really want to buy it or not. And if they do want to buy it, it's going to help them determine how they're going to put their offer together. It's important to note, if a realtor in a transaction is aware of any potential defects, problems, or issues that a property might have, they also are required to document and disclose these issues to the buyer as well. At the end of the day, you want to do the right thing and disclose anything you're aware of. The more you disclose, the better it is for both the seller and the buyer. Remember, just because you disclose an issue doesn't mean you're obligated to repair or correct it. What is the downside to selling a house as is? Unfortunately, there is a negative connotation with buying a home as is, and you might be thinking, why would somebody view this as a potential negative? The reason is many buyers will automatically assume there's something really wrong with the property. They'll think it's something that's not fixable, or if it is fixable, it's too expensive to fix. Otherwise, you would have fixed it up front and you wouldn't have to sell it as is. Another drawback to selling a house as is will be getting lowballed by cheap, opportunistic buyers. Many of these buyers are going to be people that have been watching late night infomercials that tell people to look for properties being sold as is because they can get a great deal on your house because there's probably something wrong with it. If buyers think there's something wrong with your house, they're going to make you an offer as if they're doing you a favor. They're going to ask you for deep discounts in the form of offensive lowball offers, and they're going to try to negotiate with you as if you're desperate. Another downside is buyers will be coming into the deal assuming there's something wrong with your house or that you're hiding something, and you or your agent are going to have to take extra steps or jump through hoops to defend your asking price and to show that your house is actually valuable and desirable. Lastly, if you market or offer your home as is, you're going to turn off a lot of potential buyers, which will lead to less showings, less offers, and ultimately a lower price. Even if you're open to making some repairs or providing a reasonable credit to fix things that need attention, it's better to not market your property as is. Instead, if your home doesn't need any major repairs, it would be better to make no mention of the term as is when you're marketing the house and simply let buyers view the property and make offers. If they don't ask for any repairs, then you have nothing to worry about. If they do, then at that point, you can determine whether you want to agree to their requests or not. This would be infinitely better than not having any offers at all or only getting lowball offers. So what are some of the reasons people sell as is? There are only 2 reasons people do this. The first reason would be if they can't afford to make any repairs. If you know your house has issues and you don't have the means to address them, then you might not have another option. Before you finalize your decision to do this, talk to your real estate agent to see if they have some ideas to get around this. One idea that we just talked about would be to not market it as is right out of the gate. The second reason someone would sell as is would be that they simply can't deal with the stress involved in the home sales process. If you have serious health issues or you're disabled and going through the regular process of selling your house will put you in a worse condition than you're currently in, it might make sense to sell as is. Before doing so, look into every potential option you have. Maybe a friend or a family member can help you out to relieve some of the stress. Your real estate agent should be able to help you out with this. After all, that's what they're there for. A good realtor will have contractors, painters, floor people, and handymen that they consistently work with to make it easier for sellers to prepare their homes for sale. I know we do, and we actually prefer to coordinate everything for our clients because it makes it less stressful for them, and we know that the work's gonna be done properly. Now, in the worst case scenario, if you're ever in a serious financial problem and you need to sell immediately in as-is condition, you can sell to a real estate investor or a flipping company. They specifically look for homes that are not in move-in ready condition, owned by people that need an immediate sale, and they get them for pennies on the dollar. They usually pay cash, which is good, but don't expect to get anywhere near fair market value. This should be used as an absolute last resort, and I highly recommend doing whatever you can do to avoid doing this at all costs because you're definitely going to sell for substantially lower than if you would have gotten another form of help. Now, market conditions can actually influence if homeowners sell their house as is. For example, in a hot real estate market, when homes are going under contract after being on the market for just a few days, most realtors will tell you you don't need to do much to prepare your house to sell. And it's true. In fact, in a hot seller's market where there are fewer properties to purchase, it's common to see buyers waive their right to inspect a home. As a seller, you'll be able to get away with not making minor repairs and still get a higher price than in a normal market. However, in a buyer's market where there are countless homes for sale that have been sitting on the market for an eternity, buyers are going to be much less forgiving. It doesn't mean you can't pull off an as-is sale. It simply means your property's condition becomes far more important. And you definitely should not expect to get top dollar for your house if it's in substandard condition. So what's the bottom line? Okay, the bottom line is if you want to sell your house as is, it's ultimately your choice. Just don't include any as is wording in your marketing because there are far more negatives to doing so than positives. Simply put it on the market, business as usual, as you would with any other property, show it, and once you receive offers, then you can use it as a negotiating tool should you need to. I hope you got value out of this video, and if you did, maybe you'll consider subscribing if you think we earned it. I hope we earned a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.